It's 2:47 a.m. Your eyes are burning and your hands are cramping. You're about to fight the same boss for the 23rd time. You know exactly what's coming. First attack, dodge left. Second attack, parry. Third attack, you died here last time. But this time it will be different. This time you got it. Or maybe you try one more run in Hades. Just one more. You tell yourself it's because you unlocked a new boon, but that's not why. The truth, these games have hacked your brain and you don't even realize it. Furi makes you feel like a failure until you become perfect. Hades makes you feel powerful even when you lose. Completely opposite approaches, but same result. These games make you hit the retry button. Today we're dissecting what these boss fights do to your psychology. Why you blame yourself and not the game, and why failure can feel good. And how two completely different games create the same kind of addiction. The psychology of boss fight design. Because great boss fights aren't about difficulty. They're about manipulation, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So what's actually happening here? Why does your brain keep telling you to try when the logical part is telling you just to go to bed? The answer starts before the fight even begins. Both Furi and Hades understood something fundamental about human psychology. Anticipation is more powerful than the event itself. This is what I call the anticipation hook. And it's the first way these games manipulate your emotional state. In Furi, you're forced to walk, not run. Walk. Through these long, empty corridors to reach each boss. No enemies, no distractions, just you, the stranger, and some cryptic dialogue about the boss you're about to face. Notice what's happening to your body during this walk. Your heart rate is increasing. Your grip on the controller tightens. The game has removed everything except for pure focus. And then the music shifts. The arena appears. And by the time you see the boss, you're not just ready to fight, you need to fight. Hades does the exact opposite, and somehow creates the same psychological effect. Right before a boss, Hades gives you a choice. A boon, a health upgrade, or a gold reward. The game is literally paying you to open the door. But here's the genius, while you're choosing, you're also building confidence. Okay, I've got all these powers, I'm at full health, I can do this. You're not walking towards dread like in Furi. You're walking toward opportunity. The game has convinced you that this is the run. This is when you finally beat Meg. Two games, two opposite emotions. Furi makes you anxious, Hades makes you confident. But both games accomplish the same goal. By the time the boss appears, you're completely invested. You want this fight. And that investment, that's what makes you hit the retry button again and again and again. Because the game didn't just throw a boss at you, it made you emotionally ready to fail. Okay, so you're invested. You want the fight, but you die again and again. Here's the question, why don't you rage quit? Why don't you blame the game and just walk away? Because both Hades and Furi have made you a promise. An unspoken contract. As long as they keep that contract, you'll keep hitting retry. I call this the fairness contract. And it's built on one simple rule. When you die, it has to be your fault, not the game's. Watch this attack from the first boss in Furi. See that? The sword glows white. You hear that distinct metallic ring. And there's a half-second window before the strike lands. Every single time. Same glow, same sound, same timing. The game is screaming at you. This is fair, you can learn this, you can master this. So when you die, you don't think the game cheated. You think, I mistimed it, I need to be faster. Or take the burst. These laser patterns look chaotic, but they're not. They follow perfect geometric rules. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The game isn't random, you just haven't learned the language yet. And when you finally dodge through perfectly, that's not luck, that's skill, your skill. Hades does the same thing, but with more forgiveness built in. Meg's whip glows red, bright, unmistakable red. It's easy to see it coming. In your dodge, it has invincibility frames, a lot of them. The game is giving you room to breathe, room to learn. Even in the final boss fight against Hades himself, when the screen is an absolute chaos, lasers, skulls, shockwaves everywhere, every single attack has a tell. Green skulls, purple lasers, red shockwaves. The game uses color language so your brain can process threats instantly. When you die, you know exactly what killed you. I dodged into the laser, I didn't see the skull. Never the game screwed me. Furi demands precision. Hades offers forgiveness, but both games follow the same psychological principle. If failure feels fair, players blame themselves. And when players blame themselves, they don't quit, they improve. This is why you hit retry. Not because you're stubborn, but because the game convinced you that victory is possible. You just need to be better. And that belief, that's the contract. The game promises fairness, and that's all I need. Okay, you're invested. You accept that deaths are your fault. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. Why does losing feel good? This is the progress illusion. It's the reason you could die 50 times and still feel like you're winning. You die in Hades, game over, run failed. But immediately the game floods you with rewards. You're back in the house of Hades and you're looking at everything you unlocked. New permanent upgrades in the mirror. Your health is higher now, your dash is better. You're literally stronger than you were before you died. New story dialogue, Meg comments on how you fought, Thanatos asks about your run, the world reacted to your failure. New cosmetic options, you can redecorate the house, and the codex updated. You learn more about the enemies you fought. The game is telling you this wasn't a waste, you gathered intelligence. It's pointless for gameplay, but your brain doesn't care, it's new. Your run failed, but you got permanent power, story progression, cosmetic rewards, and lore. The game just paid you for losing. So when you hit the start new run, you're not thinking, let me try again. You're thinking, let me use all this new stuff. Furi gives you nothing. No upgrades, no story, no cosmetics, just this screen. And yet you still feel progress. How? Because Furi makes your skill the progression system. First attempt, died in 15 seconds. 10th attempt, reached the second phase. 20th attempt, saw the third phase for the first time. The boss didn't get weaker, you got better. And your brain registers that progression just as powerfully as any upgrade system. And when you finally win, there's no level up screen, no loot, just a pure feeling of mastery. Two completely different reward systems. Hades gives you tangible progression, Furi gives you intangible mastery. But both create the same psychological effect. You feel like you're moving forward even when you're dying repeatedly. Hades says you failed, but you're stronger now. Furi says you failed, but you're smarter now. And that feeling of progress, that's what breaks the frustration loop. You're not stuck, you're learning, you're growing, you're advancing. So you hit retry not because you're addicted, but because the game convinced you that failure is just another form of success. So let's put it all together. First, they make you want the fight. Furi's walk, Hades' boons. By the time the boss appears, you're emotionally invested. Then they make your deaths feel fair. Telegraphed attacks, consistent patterns. When you die, you blame yourself, not the game. And finally, they reward your failures. Hades gives you upgrades, Furi gives you skill. Either way, losing feels like progress. 3 psychological systems working together to make you hit retry 50 times and enjoy every single death. Remember that number from the beginning, 23 attempts on one boss? That was a lie, it was 47. And I loved every single one. Because these games didn't just make me retry, they made me want to retry. They turned frustration into motivation, failure into progression, and defeat into obsession. This is why difficult games work. Not because they're hard, but because they actually understand that the human brain doesn't just want easy. It wants fair, it wants progress, it wants to feel like the victory was actually earned. Furi and Hades are masterclasses in emotional manipulation. If you want more deep dives into game design psychology, please subscribe. And if you got a boss that made you hit retry 50 times, drop it in the comments. I'm curious to know. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a boss fight to get back to.